It's time to watch TV from a different angle. Get your recommendations and examinations of television from thinkers who ensure zero spoilers until the vote's been cast. With all the clutter from which to choose on streaming, is the next big thing worth taking down from that shelf for your viewing pleasure? And after that, well, you can stick around for the analysis that ranges from the pointed to the absurd, from Southern thinkers out to destroy every Alabamian stereotype. Every Tuesday morning, Editor-in-Chief of the Alabama Take, Blaine Duncan, is joined by Adam Morrow, Donovan Reinwald, and others to discuss, dissect, and dive into TV and streaming. And be sure to subscribe to the Alabama Take on YouTube as well, where on Wednesday evenings, the channel features Taking It Down on video with another television topic for that week. You deserve your time, so let Taking It Down help you decide.
This is Polyphonic Press, the podcast where two music fans pick a classic album completely at random. Using the patented random album generator, they are given an album to review from a curated list of over 1,000 classic releases, spanning multiple genres. And now onto the show. Here are your hosts, Jeremy Boyd and John Van Dyke.
Polyphonic Press. I'm Jeremy Boyd. And let's not waste any time. We've got the patented random album generator right in front of us here. So let's hit the button and see what album we're going to be listening to this week. And the album we're going to be listening to is TLC, CrazySexyCool.
Not the normal stuff I generally listen to, but okay, let's give it a shot.
Give it a shot, yeah. Okay, so this is what it says on allmusic.com. It says, on their second album, TLC downplay their overt rap connections, recording a smooth, seductive collection of contemporary soul reminiscent of both Philly soul and Prince, powered by new jack and hip-hop beats. Lisa Lopez contributes the occasional rap, but the majority of CrazySexyCool belongs to Tion Watkins and Rosanda Thomas. While they aren't the most accomplished vocalists, they have a tendency to be just slightly off-key. The material they sing is consistently strong. As the cover of Prince's If I Was Your Girlfriend indicates, TLC favor erotic mid-tempo funk. Yet the group removes any of the psychosexual complexities of Prince's songs, leaving a batch of sexy material that just sounds good, especially the hit singles both Creep and Red Light Special. Have a deep groove that accentuates the slinky hooks, but it's Waterfalls with its gently insistent horns and guitar lines, an instantly memorable chorus that ranks as one of the classic R&B songs of the 90s. All right.
Okay.
And so this was released on 15th of November, 1994. Genres are R&B, hip-hop, and soul. Is released on LaFace and Arista Records and produced by Dallas Austin, Babyface, Sean Puffy Combs, Jermaine Dupri, John, Organized Noise, and Chuck Thompson.
That's a lot of producers.
And
maybe they each did different songs or something like that.
It could be. But it's a kind of a long album. There's 16 tracks on the album. So it's, but there's no, it's not really side one, side two, cause it's 90s and it's when CDs were in. So, 16 tracks. So we'll go 8 and 8. So if you're listening along, the song starts with the album starts with the song. It's like not really a song, just intro or interlude. And, halfway, like song 8 is Waterfalls. So we'll stop at Waterfalls and discuss the album halfway through. Okay, so here we go. Here is the first song on the album, or first track, called Interlude. Okay, and ending the first half of the album with Waterfalls. Yeah, I'm actually really getting into this.
It's not so bad. It's I know. Okay, here's the thing. When I was a kid, when this was new, I would have hated it. But no. I mean, there's a few instances in this album where I thought was a little dated. But overall, it's fairly, I would call it like tasteful. It's not too aggressive, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not as I don't know what the word is. It's like easy. It's relaxing. It's relaxing. It's and especially that last song, Waterfall. Like I'm that's probably the biggest hit that they've ever had, or at least one of them anyway. And I've heard that song a lot, but I've never really listened to it. And I was sitting there listening to it and thinking, this is a really good song. Like, it's a really good song. And it's one of those things that I've heard a lot. I've heard it, but I never really paid much attention to it. And it's interesting. And like, it's incorporating a lot of stuff from like old soul music, like from like the 60s and 70s, and like a lot of funk and stuff like that. And not just that song, like across the whole
a lot
whole
of them,
thing.
Creep, Kick Your Game, things like that. That was not bad at all. I noticed that as well. It was very sort of it's hip hop, but it's breezier than that, I guess.
Yeah, it reminds me more of that style of hip hop. Like the gangster stuff was really big in the 90s, and I've come to appreciate that stuff as well. But I think there's also another side of hip hop, and I think this sort of falls into that, where with groups like A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and groups like that were not doing the gangster stuff necessarily, but they were more I don't know, this is the really bad word to use to describe it, because it kind of dismisses the gangster stuff, but I don't know how else to describe it, but it's more artistic.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I find I kind of get where the gangster stuff was sort of coming from. I mean, it's coming from like the roughest parts of North America, mostly the States, and it's about life in those areas. But I find it doesn't leave a lot of extra room. Like the anger sort of kind of takes over and doesn't leave a lot of room for, melody, for one thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's a lot like hardcore punk in that sense.
Yes, in some ways, but I guess, that is probably a pretty apt comparison. Although some punk is a little bit more, again, musical than even other stuff. So I think that's pretty apt description. It probably runs the gamut of that comparison.
Yeah, and like I think with this, I mean, this is more, I guess in the pop realm. Even the CrazySexyCool, like the interlude, that had some funky stuff going on there, and yeah, I mean, this is just a really well produced album. It's very I can respect the production, the sonic quality of it. It's very clean, very well done.
Yeah. And another thing about a lot of rap albums from this period and even later, sometimes they seemed very slapdash put together, but almost intentionally so. So I'm not necessarily knocking it, but there's always a lot of extra like things going on in the middle of it. And this sort of, it has a little bit of that, but it eases off on it and it's not overt. Yeah. But I found a lot of rap albums like almost relied on that to mix up the music a bit.
Maybe, but I don't know if they necessarily relied on it so much that because rap is very lyric driven and lyric based, I think that's sort of the center of it. And so to write like a little skit or something like that isn't necessarily out of the realm of, like, it's not really deviating too much. It sort of fits in with the genre.
I can see that argument as well, actually, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, especially, but yeah, if you're doing something like with music that relies more on like melody and stuff like that. And I noticed in a few of these songs, like the song structure and the chord changes and stuff like that are very, very sophisticated, actually, which is not something you expect from a pop album, because pop album's supposed to be stuff that's supposed to be like easily consumed by the masses and stuff like that. But this, there was actually a little bit more going on, and it surprised me.
Yeah. Yeah, because you think of pop music as being very simplistic, very like 2 or 3 chords, and that not necessarily a bad thing to have, just a few chords in a song. But
no, I mean, there's some great songs are nothing but 3 chords.
Yeah,
but
yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
Not everything should be that.
Exactly.
Certainly not everything in the charts should be that.
Exactly. And I honestly, I think that's like the 90s were still, that was sort of really the transition period for that sort of thing. And I think, like, if you think about like pop music of the 80s, there was some really interesting stuff going on there. Like Prince was doing some really intricate stuff.
But a lot of Prince's stuff was actually a little bit too controversial for radio too. So
there's that. Yeah, that's true.
So he had a few hits and things like that. But for the most part, his hits were actually still a little bit more pop formula. But I'm not slamming Prince at all, because Prince was definitely capable of putting out some very, very sophisticated music. Yeah, I was just saying that for an album that relies on music that's sophisticated music, but well-written music, let's put it that way. Having too many skits in it would have been just silly, but this, it sort of plays to that audience that consumed the rap and the hip hop albums, but not too much, and it's tastefully done. It's not over the top.
Right, I see what you're saying. So yeah, so anyway, I guess we'll get back to the second half of the album, and it starts off with another skit, which is appropriately titled Intermission.
Intermission lewd.
Intermission lewd, yes. So kicking off the second half, here we go. All right, and ending the album with Something Wicked This Way Comes. I'm still really liking this, surprisingly liking this. It's really well done, really well produced. Like, yeah, I'm really impressed with this.
Yeah, I'm liking it better than I thought I would, for sure. It's still not quite my kind of thing, but it's pretty good for what it is, for sure. Yeah, there's a few more different interludes in there. Like, again, there's a few more than I probably would have liked in the than on the first half, but it still did a better job. I mean, I thought Sexy was a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. Yeah, it's a little juvenile.
A little bit.
Yeah, but it's funny. I mean, yeah, I have to give it, like, they have a sense of humor. So, but, I think, for me, I think, and I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think, like, maybe I have maybe explored a little more hip hop than you have. I know, like, I've become a pretty big fan of like A Tribe Called Quest and that sort of, there's a name for that specific genre. I can't remember what it is, but But yeah, it's this reminds me very much of that. It reminds me of that sort of the other side of hip hop and sort of and it's not just hip hop, it's R&B too. There was a genre in the early 90s called New Jack Swing as well. Think of groups like Belle Biv DeVoe and stuff like that, where they were taking like elements of like jazz and swing and sort of modernizing it. It doesn't sound exactly like swing. It sounds very 90s, but they were taking a lot of elements from like a lot of horns and stuff like that. So this is sort of along the lines of that. And so I think like for me, this is familiar. And I think you're right to your point earlier. Like if I were hearing this when I was a kid or even like a teenager, I probably wouldn't have appreciated it as much as I do here. But, you know, I think with time and with wisdom, you can sort of, even if a genre isn't your go-to for like pleasure listening, I can always appreciate like well crafted songs, like really good production. Cause I know how hard it is to do that, especially in this era, which was like computers were being used, but not to the extent they are now. And this is still this is the time when they were still using tape, because Pro Tools, although it had been out, it was not like you would make an edit. It wasn't
the universal go-to tool that it is now.
No, and actually, I remember watching an interview. I think it was with the bass player. Oh no, it was with Butch Vig, the guy who produced Nevermind by Nirvana. And he was saying how like when they were recording that album, like that was the first time he had ever seen Pro Tools, and they tried to use it, and like he tried to like make an edit like in the thing, and then to like export it took 2 hours.
Yeah, well, that's more to do with the computers they were using than Pro Tools probably itself.
Well, exactly. So at this point, like the technology wasn't really there to be able to record digitally. So like I appreciate the how difficult it is to get things sounding so well onto tape. Like it was much harder then than it is now. And so like I can appreciate like the clean production, like it's really well put together. It's like sonically really like it's high fidelity. It's you know, it's really, I can really appreciate that. Even if it isn't like my everyday listening that I want to listen to, like I can really still like, this is,
oh, so can I,
just really well done. I mean, I'm just really, really impressed.
Yeah, so can I. Absolutely. Like, yeah, I definitely respect good production, and like I said, this is definitely listenable for a guy who comes from, you know, the background I do. This is definitely listenable. It's not trash or anything like that. It's well produced. The songs are well written. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like I said, there's a few spots that I thought were a little bit dated, but it was 94. They were still coming out of the, you know, that electronic drum phase was still a little bit in pop music at that point. There's points in it that almost sound sort of vaporwavy, so I can sort of see these being used for that. But that's not necessarily ticks against it or anything like that, because it was the period it came out of. It's just you do notice its date in points. In other parts, it actually sounds quite timeless. Like Waterfalls still sounds kind of timeless. It's just everybody knows when it came out, but production wise, it's very timeless.
There's not. It's hard to pick out a weak spot on the album. If I had to say that there's a weak spot, I would say it would be the amount of interludes and sketches that just I think.
Yeah, it becomes more of them as the album progresses.
But it's not. They're not really taking away, because there's still an album's worth of actual songs on here. So it's not like they're filling in stuff with the interludes. It's like there's an album worth of songs plus the plus the skits. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess it's just sort of the, kind of how they did things.
So, okay. So the question then is, would you listen to it again?
I'm not actually that likely to put it on again, to be perfectly honest. And it's nothing to do with the quality of the music. It's just not what I generally go to listen to. If I was somewhere and it came on, it wouldn't bother me. In fact, I might even enjoy parts of it. But to say it's something that I'm going to actually put on again, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm there yet.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I probably would. I probably would listen to it again. I don't think I would. Nah. Yeah. I think I kind of am leaning more towards your thing. Is like, if it was on somewhere, I would still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think maybe at some point I might be in the mood to put it on and listen to it. So I'm going to say maybe.
Give me a few more years, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a maybe for me. But yeah, I guess we'll end the episode there. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, we want to hear from you, whether you agree or disagree with our review. You can always reach out to us by going to the contact page of our website, polyphonicpress.com. And while you're there, you can check out previous episodes. If you'd like to support the show, you can do that by going to buymeacoffee.com/polyphonicpress. It's really easy. You don't need to sign up for anything. All those links are in the show notes. And I think that just about does it. I'm Jeremy Boyd.
I'm John Van Dyke.
Take it easy.